Welcome to the Cloud Pod, where the forecast is always cloudy. We talk weekly about all things AWS, GCP, and Azure. We are your hosts,
Justin,
Jonathan,
Ryan,
and Peter.
Episode 95, recorded on November 18th, 2020. reInvent. The best is yet to come.
Ooh.
Good evening, you guys. How's it going?
Hi.
We are one episode away from the reInvent recap show, which we will do live. We will have it live streaming to Twitch for whoever wants to join us for that. That'll be super fun. I figured out how to do it. I've worked out the technology. It can be done, and it will be done. So we will do a live recap show. I don't know if we'll do the recap show. It's probably going to be after Andy's keynote. I don't know that, typically Warner has not announced anything, and so I don't know that it would make sense to hold the show for Warner's keynote, so we will just do it after Andy's, because that's how I like to roll. And like we talked about before the show, this is a dictatorship, not a republic. And so I've decried, just like we're not recording the show next week during Thanksgiving week. So we're taking that week off because we're going to be getting ready for the fantastic, amazing announcements from reInvent. But good evening, you guys. How's it going?
Good. I'm hiding out in the final corner of my house that doesn't have painter's tape and drop cloths all over it.
People were complaining that you had missed a few shows on the old Slack room, and so I'm sure they'll be happy to hear your docile tones of British accent.
Yes, not voice synthesized either.
Yes,
you didn't paint yourself into a corner, did you?
But I did not.
Well, the most important part for tonight, of course, is the predictions, which we will get to after I clear the docket, because Amazon has, of course, been busy still clearing out and crushing the hopes and dreams of many of our hosts here, as I heard wails of anguish in the Slack channel as they killed prediction after prediction in glorious fashion. So one of mine was also nailed, so I will let that go. But it's all good. The first one up is Lightsail Containers, which is an easy way to run your containers in the cloud. You can now deploy containers to Lightsail. All you need to do is provide a Docker image for your container, and they automatically containerize it for you and run it. They handle the HTTPS endpoint behind a load balancer automatically for you, and they'll handle all of your DNS capabilities, as well as handling the replacement of your container when you upload a new one, all automatically. Now, having done all that work in ECS or EKS, I can tell you that's really nice that they do all of that for you, because that is about 90% of all DevOps workloads in the cloud on containers, is doing those three tasks, which are all automatically for you for Lightsail Containers, making it very, very easy.
Do you think they could have called it Lightgate or Fastsail or one of those other things?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, they could have done a lot of things with it. I don't know.
Well,
but yeah.
So yeah, Lightsail existed before, right? Like Lightsail's
a
separate thing. Lightsail Containers is just an addition to that.
Yeah, Lightsail is their very simple hosting option for people who just want a WordPress site, and then you go to Lightsail and you get a thing, and it's very limited and very much like a VPS of olden days.
Well, and Elastic Beanstalk, it's a very similar concept. Some people really like the easy button and the enablement.
This one looks like a really easy button, though. One that we would use.
Well, it's Kubernetes, basically, or the promise of Kubernetes to the business. When you're setting it up, like the developers just come with a container. The ops team runs it.
No more ops. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and you get a bunch of free data with Lightsail too. I think it's like 5 terabytes a month. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, they're very attractive services, in general, what they offer to you. And I know people who've done it, mostly because they're in the OG AWS Slack room saying, I'm in Lightsail and I want to do this thing I can't do. And it's like, oh, well, it's time to graduate from Lightsail.
Which is a service. Yeah.
Yep. It's like, I'm super happy you found that. But yeah, you're going to need to know. Move along. Move along, my good friends. The containers do run a little bit, they're a little bit more expensive than what I would expect them to be, considering what they are. So like a nano container, which is 0.25% of a CPU, and 512 megabytes of RAM is $7. Now, a 512 megabit memory server with 1 core processor and 20 gigs of SSD disk and 1 terabyte of transfer is $3.50.
That's incredible, by the way.
So it is kind of crazy. And then you can go all the way up to a $160 container, which is an extra large, 4 vCPUs and RAM of 8 gigabytes of memory. And again, if you are using these services and they are valuable to you, this is the easy button, but I will tell you that you can get spot instances for those workloads for a lot less money, but the more heavy lifting involved.
Yeah, but it includes a load balancer too.
It does. I agree. So it has benefits and distractions.
You'll probably find out that if you actually calculated the charge of every single thing that they're giving you here, it'll be exactly the same as it'll cost you on EC2.
And also a full CD pipeline.
Yeah. I mean, I think it does cost just a slight premium over EC2, if I remember right. Last time I ever ran that comparison, but it has had some price cuts, so maybe actually a little bit less now. I'm not sure. But yeah, load balancer costs you $18. So with this container thing, you don't have to you get a load balancer already. So I don't know. It might be a good savings.
And, a lot of that is just, offering this as a service to compete directly with Google makes a lot of sense as well. Like you can't be as easily enticed to another cloud provider if you're already an Amazon customer.
Yeah, definitely. It's not for me. It's a product not for me. I can admit that. It's not my product. It's not something I'm interested in, but somebody out there is very excited.
It's like the cloud version of candy flavored tobacco.
Yeah, exactly. Someone's happy about that product. Well, announcing the new AWS Glue Data Brew product, AWS knows that running your analytics, building reports, and applying machine learning and making sure the data has good hygiene is a ton of work, and typically is one of the big killers of most data analytics projects. And so they're giving you a new tool with the Data Brew product, which helps you address this amount of work, the visual data preparation tool that helps you clean and normalize data up to 80% faster so you can focus more on the business value of your data. It's a visual interface that connects your data stored in S3, Redshift, RDS, and any JDBC accessible data store or data indexed by AWS Glue Data Catalog. Once the data is ready to take advantage of things like SageMaker, Redshift, Athena, QuickSight, or Tableau, which actually was mentioned in the press release, which I thought was a little strange, considering they don't typically mention their competitors. But Data Brew has a couple of pricing models to it. The first one is the interactive session, which is a 30-minute session for you to go and actually explore your data. That costs you $1. And the first 40 sessions are free for the first-time users of Data Brew. And then the jobs that you invoke to actually do the data cleanup cost you 48 cents per Data Brew node hour. And of course, your S3, RDS, Redshift costs also are factored into that as well.
It's really cool. I wish I'd had this many times in the past, thinking about cleaning up network scanning data or Qualys data or any kind of those are the crappy report things you've had me working on for the past 4 years.
But you love Python so much, Jonathan.
I do. But this is so much nicer. You build it manually, clicky, and then you can run it automatically for every next data set that comes in. So it's really kind of like it's the no code for the BI people to build their transform pipelines. It's really neat.
Yeah, this is something, working with internal BI teams and other teams who are trying to do reporting data, like it always seems this huge compromise of just trying to do transformations on data that isn't what you want. And my solution is, regenerate the data, but they don't want to do that, or they're not in control of the source. And so this is a good compromise, where they don't have to necessarily communicate what transformations they need in a technical format. They can just create it via UI, move forward from there. It's cool. I can admit I will probably use this just because, of sheer laziness with some of the data. Like I'd love to run this and be like, oh, okay, this is a much better schema than I would have defined on my own.
Yeah, thinking about things like CloudTrail, we could start using this to enrich our CloudTrail logs with context for project names and account names and things, owners.
I will definitely use it. I can tell you that for sure. But maybe I won't have to ask you for all those reports now, Jonathan. That's the hope,
self-serve.
right?
A little self-serve.
You can hope. That's the key part of it. Well, good. Let's move on to our next story here. We have a post-quantum world ahead, folks. This is the second release of features from Amazon to help you avoid the inevitable situation where your data is unencrypted by all of the amazing quantum computing that is definitely somewhere on the horizon somewhere, I guess. Or not at all. I'm not sure. But AWS KMS will now support 3 new hybrid post-quantum key exchange algorithms for the TLS 1.2 encryption protocol that is used when connecting to AWS KMS API endpoints. These new hybrid post-quantum algorithms combine the proven security of classical key exchange with the potential quantum-safe properties of new post-quantum key exchanges, and the fastest of these only adds 0.3 milliseconds of overhead compared to the classic TLS handshake. AWS is making this available to you today versus waiting for a standard, so you can start actually testing this and seeing what the impact will be on your computer application. Of course, that means that you assume that quantum is tomorrow, because this is a priority for your roadmap. But I don't know who that person is, but I'm sure there's someone out there.
Yeah, I'm just happy that it appears that the defense is ahead of the offense here. So happy to check the box when it's time.
At least that's what you think.
Pretty sure.
The next feature is a killer for our prediction lists here. With the AWS Network Firewall, a new managed firewall service in VPC. AWS has heard from customers like you that they want to scale network security across all of their resources in their workload, regardless of which AWS service they used. And they would also want customized protections to secure their unique workloads or to comply with government mandates. These customers need to do things like URL filtering on outbound flows, pattern matching on packet data beyond IP port and protocol, and the ability to alert on specific vulnerabilities for protocols beyond HTTPS. To solve all these challenges and needs, AWS is announcing the AWS Network Firewall, a highly available managed network firewall service for your VPC. It enables you to easily deploy and manage stateful inspection, intrusion prevention and detection, and web filtering to protect your virtual networks on AWS. This automatically scales with your traffic, as all good managed services do, and is available to you through organizations and the AWS Firewall Manager. And they're interoperable with your existing security ecosystem, including AWS partners such as CrowdStrike, Palo Alto Networks, and Splunk, as well as support and import existing rules from community-maintained Suricata rule sets, which is an open source rule format. This is only available today in North Virginia, Oregon, and Ireland, though I assume it will be rolling out to regions very, very soon, which I'll remind you, we don't talk about region expansion at the PyCloud Pod, even in the lightning round, because we would do nothing but that. So do keep an eye on that if you're curious and you need it in a different region. Keep that eye on your own, because we will not update you here. Costs for this are 39 cents per hour for the network firewall endpoint and 0.065 cents per gigabyte for network firewall traffic processing. And there's a weird comment here, which I didn't fully understand, but maybe Jonathan does. You can use 1 hour and 1 gigabyte of NAT gateway at no additional cost for every hour and gigabyte charge for network firewall. So I assume what they're saying is you don't have to pay for the NAT gateway and the firewall. If you have this enabled, you're only paying for that.
Yeah,
but they worded it in a very
it's an
strange
upgrade.
way.
It's like getting the 10% discount on the firewall, basically. I think that gateway used to cost about $35 a month.
Cool. So it's a premium. They should have called it NAT Gateway Premium.
Then they'd be copying Azure. They can't do that.
If you do it tongue in cheek, does it still count as copying? Like it's, if it's just an underhanded dig.
All right. So Peter, it's here finally. This announcement. How do you feel?
I'm very angry that this was not saved for one more week since I got the high roll and I got to go first. And this was my first election. I think Andy Jassy hates me and he's been listening to the show and he knew I was going to predict this. And so he let it out early just to spite me. Just for that, I'm never going to recommend it. I'm just kidding. I will recommend it when it makes sense. And I swear, I'm looking at this right now and you go to the AWS marketplace and you look at the activity on the marketplace and what % of that stuff is third parties selling network firewalls as appliances. And this is, now they have the direct competitor, which is always going to be super challenging on Amazon to compete with them.
Yeah, you think you're angry, wait till you hear from Cisco and Palo Alto and everybody else who just last week thought, yes, we finally got this gateway load balancer that we can use to deploy our products. And this week, sorry guys, they giveth and they taketh away.
You had 6 days. What were you doing? You had 6 days ahead to market. What were you waiting for?
It's really cool though. Been waiting for this for such a long time. It just checks so many boxes, and I kind of see them as boxes mostly, but things like stateful inspection of different protocols and different ports have always been one of the challenging things. So we don't need to deploy Squid proxies anymore or SOX proxies or anything else. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Initially, I thought this was a bit expensive, but then when I realized it had IDS IPS capability in it and all this stateful packet inspection, it very quickly starts paying for itself. And you look at all the things you don't have to run now. Plus, you're getting that NAT gateway kind of plus, which is pretty great. So
yeah, and if you could centralize egress and you just have one of these deployed, it's just a.
Well, you totally could with Transit Gateway, right? Or a shared VPC model. You could do that as well. There's a ton of ways to share this across your infrastructure, so you're getting the best of all worlds.
Yep.
All right. Well, then this last announcement, it snuck in right about 4:00 this afternoon, and I had to mention it, even though I don't think any of you guys had this as a prediction for the show, but I want to make sure there was no ambiguity here. They're introducing the Amazon S3 Storage Lens, which is a new S3 storage lens to give you an interactive dashboard, which you can find in the S3 console. All customers will get a dashboard, and you can drill into your metrics and understand more about your S3 utilization. And then if you're willing to pay more data, you can pay for your own custom dashboards and do a bunch of customizations and get multiple months of retention versus the default 14 days. The dashboards are built on 14 years of experience helping customers optimize their storage. And I did attempt to go look at this before the show, but I couldn't log into my account, and I wasn't going to deal with that at the moment. So I will save that for our follow-up show.
You got to click it, enable it, and then wait a little while before you're allowed to do anything fun.
That's my guess as well. That's why I was trying to get done earlier, and since I failed, I just assumed it won't happen.
I think the dashboards are actually built on 14 years of customer complaints, not 14 years of experience. What do you mean you can't tell me how much data is in this bucket, but you can charge me for it at the end of the month? What do you mean I can't get an inventory of all the items in this bucket without spending $10,000 on API calls?
Yep.
Hey everyone, Jonathan here. I just wanted to take a minute to thank the cloud consulting gurus at Foghorn for helping make the Cloud Pod possible. These folks truly get it. Cloud consulting experts since 2008, they are premier tier partners with AWS, Google Cloud Platform Silver, and Microsoft Azure partners. From multi-cloud to containers to moving full production workloads to the cloud under the tightest compliance, Foghorn's team of full-stack cloud engineers have been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt, and are ready to share their experience with you. If you're in the market for some talent to supplement your team, visit www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. Foghorn, the promise of cloud delivered.
All right, well, now that I've cleared the decks for all of our Amazon news, we can now make our predictions, which they will either completely ruin between now and reInvent, which is technically still 5 business days away before the holiday break. So they may ruin these, but we will give it the best shot using our crystal balls. Before the show, we did do a roll of the dice, which I think Jonathan will tack into the end of the show as a bonus. If you stay all the way through the credits, you can hear us roll and make fun of Ryan and Peter and everyone for their rolling ineptitude. I don't know. But anyways, the winner of the roll was Peter, followed by Jonathan, and then myself, and then Ryan came up last on the roll. So in traditional draft rules of the prediction show, we are stealing this completely from Relay FM, where they do a prediction for all of the, or Upgrade FM, which is part of the Relay Network, for all of the Apple events. And so the idea here is that if we know, if it's already out there in the web world, as known or thing that you can't necessarily mention it. If it's been officially confirmed by Amazon, it does not count. So it has to be something in the rumor mill that you are hoping is going to come true. It has to be somewhat specific. So we had this agreement last week that we could not go with something very vague, like they're going to talk about enterprise 35 times. Or sorry, they can't talk about enterprise in a big way, how I won Google Next 2 years ago, and Jonathan's still bitter. But if I had said he's going to mention specifically enterprise, a specific number of times, that we would allow that to go. And then if you hit that number, that'd be okay. So that's what we agreed on before the show, and we will disagree about next week when that means someone wins and someone loses. But for now, that is the agreement that we have as gentlemen here on the show. So, Peter, you are on the draft board with your first.
All right, so I'm going to try my best to lose this year. I'm going to pick things that are highly unlikely to be called, but if they are, I will be considered the oracle. Let's go with announcement of a tight integration between Sumerian and either like Chime or a third-party teleconference solution for virtual in-person meetings.
All right. So you are wanting to have virtual meetings with Sumerian and a Chime Slack/messaging service type thing.
I want to put my goggles on. I want Amazon to let me put my goggles on and go to a meeting. That's
a bold pick.
I told you I'm trying to lose or be the oracle. Nothing in between.
Speaking of Second Life, whatever happened to that?
One of our engineers was like the head DevOps guy there before it was even coined the term DevOps. He built and scaled their whole infrastructure, or SRE.
All the way up and all the way down again, apparently.
Yeah, well, he wasn't there for the downside.
All right, Jonathan. So before the show, you said that you have an amazing set of picks. So let's hear your first one, as you are now on the draft board.
The question is, I've got so many, which do I go with first? It's like a game of poker. I'm going to go with a serverless graph database.
A serverless graph database, like Neptune, but serverless?
Yep.
Neo4j?
I'm not going to say it's Neptune specifically, but it's probably Neptune, but serverless.
Incremental. I like it. And in line with their direction of all their tool services. And I've specifically had a prospect ask me if that exists yet. So I think that's a really good pick. If you don't win, it's not that you made a bad pick. It's that Amazon had a bad strategy. That's what I say.
Displeasing customers. Yeah.
All right. So I'm now on the board. I'm going to go with my first pick as a snow killer, potentially an upgrade to Redshift and or new product that will directly compete with Snowflake.
So what features specifically to hold you accountable?
Yes. Yes.
I specifically, I'm looking for a dynamic reporting engine capability that can automatically build out reports and capabilities based on the data being ingested, just like Snowflake can.
Awesome.
Ryan.
And Ryan, that puts you on the board.
So I think they're going to follow in the footsteps of Google and Azure and announce a control plane for managing Kubernetes clusters that are both on-prem and EKS.
Anthos, basically direct competitor to Anthos without the $10,000 minimum fee.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not making any predictions on that.
Come on. Go on a lamb.
All right. Well, that puts you back on the board, Peter, for your second pick.
I'm going to go with a major upgrade to CloudWatch logs plus GuardDuty plus Firehose plus all the crap CloudWatch events that currently Amazon says is a SIEM, and say that they come out with a legit SIEM product and for it to count, it's either got to have its own name or they have to have done something to GuardDuty to where you don't have to have all those other components and there's a UI in front of it. So a legit competitor to Splunk.
Got it.
So it manages incidents, not just gives you a list of events.
Yes, absolutely. Not just API, not just CloudWatch events, not just CloudTrail logs, but instance-based aggregation as well. So integrating CloudWatch logs with the GuardDuty type features, but it might just be its own product. I don't know. But I'm predicting that Splunk will not be happy.
Yep, that's nice.
Yeah, that's a great choice. All right, Jonathan, that puts you up for your number 2.
I think one of the biggest complaints I've heard and the number of outages that are caused by EC2 maintenance events where, oops, the server went down, oops, we had to reboot it, and product teams don't build that kind of monitoring into their products, and so things just disappear and come back again, and it's always a bit of an unknown. So I think that there will be live migration of some instance types between EC2 hosts so that maintenance events don't cause the damage they do today.
This is one of those questions I always had of I always felt like they sort of had live migrations, they just didn't make it exposed to you. And so they could do that for maintenance events, but it's possible that they would make that available because other cloud providers are doing it. So I think it's an excellent pick. We will see.
But live migration across availability zones?
No, I think within an AZ is reasonable.
Okay. Because I kind of felt like they were probably doing that behind the scenes, but between availability zones, for sure, they're not doing. Like we found that out with Heartbleed when they were literally telling you when RDS instances, if you were in a single availability zone, were going down.
I have a reason to think that may be a feature, which may become evident with my last pick.
My second pick is going to be I think that Gartner dig on them about their price cuts not being all affecting other customers really bothers them. And so I'm going to go with a major price cut in either bandwidth or a major EC2 class, C, M, or R.
So what's a major price cut? 10% plus 20%?
I'd say over 10%, yes.
I think that's fair. Okay.
I was thinking it would be Fargate, honestly, because if they've enabled Fargate for light sale, then they're probably bringing down the price of Fargate to
Well, they already did that huge price cut for Fargate.
Yeah, they cut it in half.
All right, Ryan, that puts you on the board for your second pick.
I think that with the plays and observability in space, I think they're going to make a big move into tracing and visualization of application tracing across the board. So I think they're going to be, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but it's going to be some sort of announcement in the observability space that's powered by, AI and machine learning, because of course everything has to be.
That's a good guess. I also had that on my list as a potential, mostly based on some of that open telemetry stuff we talked about a couple of weeks ago. I thought maybe that was leading into some managed service. So I think that's a great guess. I hope that it doesn't, whatever they announce doesn't go after Honeycomb though, because I think that's a good company and good product. I like to see them succeed. All right, Peter, that puts you back on the board at your third pick. Third and final.
Awesome. First, I do want to give credit for my AR/VR pick to one of our engineers, Stuart Goings, who thought that was an interesting thing. And I'm going to give credit to Caleb Hyde for my next pick, which I think I understood.
If you don't understand it, I don't know if you can have as your pick.
So
you just got to be able to defend it. So I don't know. Yeah.
A robotics SDK similar to Ground Station, but for robotics.
Don't they have a robotics SDK?
I don't know.
Does sound vaguely familiar.
Going to the internet. So RoboMaker does simulation, cloud extensions, fleet management, and development environment. So yes, I would say that is not an SDK. So I will let it go. Robot SDK for tight integrations. Jonathan, your third and final pick after much hype.
I think there will be a fairly detailed discussion about the use of IoT in the COVID response for Amazon and Amazon Web Services.
So like as a feature of the talk, they'll be talking about how Amazon is using IoT internally.
And so for COVID, I get it.
Yep,
That makes sense.
I think they spent a lot of money. I think it must have gone somewhere. And I'm pretty sure they would have had things like thermal imaging cameras on entranceways and that kind of thing. I think they'll mention that because IoT is very important to them right now.
All right, good. That's awesome. So my third pick is a wish list. I don't think this is going to happen, but I want it to happen, so I'm going to make it my third pick. I think they're going to announce their own version of a Cloud Shell.
Oh, fun.
Which would be an online version of a terminal that I can run CLI commands and AWS commands in the cloud, authenticated with IAM, all natively in the console. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that should be there already. That's a great pick. That's a no-brainer.
What are they going to call it?
Web console? I don't know. Something.
And then if they deploy that and and commands can be restricted, or at least IAM permissions can be restricted, that'll save me from a predicted 6 to 8 weeks of development time because I'm going to make my own.
Yeah. That's it. That's my third pick. I feel I want it so badly. I don't know if they'll do it, but I think there's been enough hype about Cloud Shell and how awesome it is on both Azure and GCP that I could see them maybe going, okay, we want that too. So we'll see. But I sort of feel like that may be why Colm has gone to the IAM team. I feel like that's something that may not be this year. Maybe next year. We'll see. Ryan, your third and final pick.
Stance 1 is very similar to Jonathan's, but not quite. So I'm wondering if I should capitalize. So I'm going to also I'll do a COVID response as well. I think that they're going to highlight the adoption rate of cloud computing in response to pandemic and how they were able to enable their customers to, stay in business.
So how they didn't fall over like Azure.
To separate this from Jonathan's and yours. So Jonathan's is more about how they're using their technologies for their response to COVID in the warehouses and the shipping, manufacturing, logistics pipeline. Ryan's is how Amazon's a huge enabler of COVID response and adoption of cloud computing in general.
That's everyone had to get stuff. You had to scale up to meet new demand because everyone's working at home and everyone's doing more cloud computing, and Amazon didn't fall over.
It makes sense to me. I can accept that as
I like that.
Reasonable differentiation between your two picks. Otherwise, we'd have to call shenanigans, as we do. All right. So again, if there's a tiebreaker, we have a tiebreaker, which is a number, as we like to do, which follows Price is Right rules. So it is the closest number without going over. And the question that you will all answer in reverse draft order is, how many new products / features in total will Andy Jassy announce during his keynote, either in Word or on slide?
Wait, reverse draft order? That's the worst order for me.
Because I get to go last because I win. .com. Remember that iwon.com? You remember iwon.com? That was the best Yahoo competitor.
Yes. So, Ryan, how many new features, capabilities, products do you think he will announce?
I am going to go with 6.
That'd be the smallest reinvent ever.
Is this just the first keynote, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but we've seen in the last few years, Warner does not announce anything. So
it's just what he announces on stage. Like, I'll have to go back and look at 2019. I didn't feel like it was a large number.
It's a larger number than you realize, I think. I am going to go with 23.
Wow. Apparently 6 is low.
Jonathan?
29.
And Peter?
7. It's the version of 1, right? It's like kind of the version of 1.
7 or 30, right? It's in there.
No, not 30 because it's without going over, right?
Well, if it's anything over 30, like anything over 30, you'd win. Yeah.
Or he could have said 24, and he could have got everything between your 7 and your 6. And,
so basically now Ryan has to hit it on the nose,
right?
And Peter has between 7 and 23, which is a pretty good range.
Those rolls Ryan, are important.
Ryan, you'll get the consolation. I'll cheat and give you the automatic win tonight. And don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. But I'm going to automatically give you the win in lightning round as a consolation prize. But don't tell anyone.
Okay, I'll keep it.
Do we have any almost made it?
Yes, I have a bunch of honorable mentions because I wasn't sure what you guys were going to come out here with. I had kind of a vague one, but I was going to go with it, and it's sort of a difficult one for me to choose because I have some NDA information I can't talk about. But I was going to say AWS will launch 4 hybrid solutions, which allow them to manage something on AWS, Azure, GCP, or on premises. And I know one for sure, so it's sort of weird. And then the next one I had was Unified Telemetry X-Ray Insights console and capability, which was sort of kind of feeding off the idea they keep creating these like very common consoles. So that was kind of my next one. And then I had a Lambda will be supported on either Outpost or on-premise.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then my next one was an alternative to Envoy, maybe Linkerd. They already have an alternative container solution with ECS. Maybe they try to double down on that by saying we're going to partner with Linkerd and some of these other kind of very popular but not the number ones, and say this is the right platform to run those on. I thought may be kind of interesting.
Certainly hope Linkerd too.
And then I had a CloudWatch revamp or a managed Prometheus offering. And then my last honorable mention was the house band will be layered off in favor of the Chartbuster winners being the intro songs to all of Andy Jesse's sections.
That's more just you wish that, I think.
I did, but that's why I didn't use it. But I had it available if I needed it. Like if I had been so similar to you guys. So that's my list of honorable mentions that I did not give you as my main picks.
All right, I have two. One I found on some of the forums asking for features, and I haven't had this issue myself, but I thought it was kind of interesting, would be to enable S3 or EFS with content addressable storage offering. You can read about it. But like basically you write once and then you don't edit. So anytime you want a new thing, you just write a new edit or delete. So you always know that the version based on a hash, like the object is based on a hash, and you know that is always the same version. It's never changed.
Don't you kind of have that with versioning and IAM policies? Because you can kind of do worm drives on.
You can do it, right? You can do it, but versioning, then the current version is changing, but then you'd have to go reference the older version. So that's why I didn't pick it as one of my main ones. I didn't even know. Like you said, you can rig this today, so you can have this functionality, but like an actual service that just returns the hash, and it never changes.
Yeah, it'd be cool if you could declare the version number and then you could reference, that way you know what the version number is and then reference it by the version number. That'd be kind of neat. I can see there's some use cases there, I'm sure.
You can do that with HTTP. You just put query version equals and then the hash, and it gives you that version.
But only if you know the version.
And then my second one, this one I'm going outside of my technical expertise, and I'm moving into my standard human interactions, and I want to predict that one of the people that show up on stage live for the keynote will trip and fall.
Okay. That would not make a pick because we don't know if there will be a stage.
Oh, you're right.
But
there might not be a stage.
I'm hoping that they've learned from the other, Satya Nadella in front of his library, or from other conferences I've seen where people are just in front of their desks, that is not an effective way, and they take the note from the Apple keynotes where they're actually produced and packaged video. But again, Andy said his is live, so I do thought there will be a stage, because I don't know how you do a live keynote from your house. How about Jonathan? Did you have any honorable mentions?
I do. I think that the natural progression from the confidential computing, Nitro Enclaves type service will be things like replacement for hardware key management systems. You can now prove that the key manager is invulnerable to penetration from outside. You can't get the keys out because it's all encrypted. I think it will significantly reduce the cost of key management in the cloud. Number two, I think that the current gap still in forensics in AWS is to be able to take a snapshot of the running memory from the hypervisor level. If you don't have access to a box because your controls don't permit it, then if there's an intrusion, you have no way of capturing the current state of the memory. The only way to do that's from outside. So I think for some instance types, maybe they start developing these things for Nitro only. You'll be able to take a snapshot of running memory because it's important for security. I think there'll be an update on self-driving vehicle technology, and I think they'll announce another 5G partner.
Do you have a guess on which one?
No.
Not Foghorn. I'll tell you right now, it's not Foghorn.
There's not many left.
There really isn't.
It'd be someone like AT&T or T-Mobile basically saying, yeah, we're already partnered with GCP or Azure, but we're also now going to partner with AWS.
Yeah, potentially. I'm not sure who's big in the, like the southeast kind of Miami area where they announced the wavelength regions, but I would imagine they're closely tied.
Interesting. And then Ryan, did you have any honorable mentions?
I've got two. So I'm suspecting there's going to be an enhanced development experience with Fargate or Lambda. So things like, attaching to a running function or a running container in Fargate. And, maybe some integrations like at the SDK level, I was thinking as well. And the second one is because Andy is doing his keynote live, I think they're going to want to make a splash and there'll be some sort of stun at some point. So I was going to try to make it specific and say, at least if not Andy, one of the people that are part of the live keynote will arrive via car or vehicle.
Or self-driving car.
Self-driving car.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good point. Yeah.
Or parachute, maybe.
Or robot.
I originally
via
wrote
an
down
SDK.
and Jesse will pair drop in. I did actually write that down. And
Dropping in
decided,
from an Amazon drone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I decided that there's no way he would actually be that cool.
Nope.
All right, so I'm going to write that down as someone will arrive by alternative transportation method.
Yeah, I like that.
I like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
That's an excellent set of picks. I feel pretty good about these. I think someone might win because right now the score for our draft picks here is 0-0-0 because we have won none of them. I don't think because
Not a single points. Yeah.
It's been a little weird with COVID and how they've handled these, and then especially some of them have been very less less announcement driven, and I just know. So we will find out. I'm very eager to find out, and we will see very, very soon.
Just remember, if we lose, it's not because we did a bad job. It's because they did a bad job.
Correct. Right. These are the things that we want and need. We are their customers, and they listen to their customers, right? So that's
Just no more roti makers, please. Cloud computing has changed the way we live, do business, and stay connected. With everyone using the same cloud platforms, winning and losing comes down to having the best talent to build products better and faster. So whether you're an aspiring innovator looking to level up or a business harnessing the transformative power of the cloud, tech skills and cloud certifications have never been more important. Cloud Academy has thousands of video courses, learning paths, practical hands-on labs in real-world cloud environments, and tools designed to help teams assess, build, and validate critical cloud skills. Most importantly, Cloud Academy stays agile, challenging you with new content, labs, and tons of features that ensure your skills stay relevant and everyone can level up. They cover everything from major certifications to DevOps, security, and programming languages. Cloud Academy is a cloud training platform of choice for Fortune 500 companies and thousands of tech professionals around the world. Don't just take their word for it. Check out the reviews on G2 and get started now at cloudacademy.com. For a limited time, our listeners can lock in 50% off the monthly price for life. Just put in the coupon code CloudPod when checking out. It's a great way to pursue certifications or just cloud build expertise during this crazy time. Again, go to cloudacademy.com and use the coupon code CloudPod to lock in 50% off the monthly price.
Well, GCP is attempting to make a splash as usual before reInvent, to be a big spoiler. And the first one is one that we have talked about here on the show many times. We really like the idea of Anthos, but we don't want to pay for Anthos because it costs you $10,000 a month and it has a 1-year commitment, which is $120,000 a year, which is more than any of us want to spend on something like Anthos. So Google apparently has heard us complain mercilessly about this, as well as many, many other people who have complained about Anthos and its extreme costs to even get it started into. And so they have released the Anthos Developer Sandbox, which gives you an easy way to learn how to develop on Anthos. It's available to you at no cost to anyone with a Google account. You don't even have to be a Google Cloud customer. You don't have to be a G Suite customer. You can just go there and you can play with this right now. So not only did they lower the bar to get into this, they lowered it way down.
That's called from zero to hero.
Exactly. There are several tools included in the Anthos Developer Sandbox, including the Cloud Shell Editor, the Cloud Code Build, and the Cloud Build Local capabilities. And with these 3 components, you have everything you need to iterate on, debug, and test your own application for deploying to Anthos. Once finished, experimenting, the Anthos Developer Sandbox cleans up all the related resources and brings you the power of Cloud Code, Cloud Build, GKE, Build Packs, and the Cloud Run Anthos to your fingertips. You can learn more about this in their Anthos channel on the Google Community Slack, which is out there available for those in the Google ecosystem.
Presumably that lack of persistence and them helping clear up all the resources stops us using it to run production workloads.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because they made it very, very free to a very large number of people.
Yeah, the problem isn't that we don't want to use it. The problem is it's too expensive. Maybe they'll realize that.
Yeah, but in reality, really all I want to do is play with it. So this is the perfect world for me.
I mean, I think the key thing is if I'm thinking Anthos is the solution, and the cost for me to even find out if it's a good solution or a bad solution for my use case is $120,000 bill, that's a non-starter for a lot of teams. This at least gets you in and say, hey, look at this amazing thing I can do with the Anthos developer kit. if we bought Anthos, I could do this much faster. So it helps with that story. I would still like to see, the commitment go away and a price cut on Anthos, or, maybe leave the price, but remove the 12-month commitment. I don't know. It's not very cloud native. I just want it to be more cloud native.
It's very Oracle-y, isn't it? Like charging per CPU.
It was one of the very first things TK ever announced.
After you've paid the $120,000 commitment, right, then what are the extra charges that you weren't budgeting for, that always get you with any kind of cloud service, whether it's, network bandwidth or data transfer or just compute in general, like, those types of deals,
well, and
you're going to be paying more.
The instances GKE is running on, like there's so many costs that come into that. So. All right. And then next up is Artifact Registry is now generally available. This is the expansion of Container Registry. So they've always had the Container Registry. They've actually, instead of creating a new product for artifacts, they basically just expanded that one. And so now the new one supports both container images, Maven, NPM packages, and additional formats that are becoming soon. I'm assuming .NET is on their list very quickly. And the Artifact Registry helps your organization benefit from scale, security, and standardization across your software supply chain. The Google Container Registry, Artifact Registry, is a single place to store container images as well as language and OS packages. It's a fully managed platform with Artifact Registry helping you to get total control of your software delivery process with new features, including support for regional repositories, VPC service controls, granular per repo access controls, and customer managed encryption keys, and also offers you built-in vulnerability scanning for containers and integration with binary authorization for you to use their secure container workloads.
I mean, it makes sense they expand Artifact Registry on top of Container Registry just because people have been sort of abusing one or either of those services the other way anyway, right? So I've seen, RPM stored in Docker registries, and I've seen containers stored in Artifact registries. So this is, it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, Amazon did it as two different services, and Google's doing it as one. So, one is right, one's wrong. I don't know which one it is.
I don't know. I hate ECR, so I have a vote.
Given the fact that developers were the primary target from all of these hyperscalers back before anybody would consider running production workloads on the cloud, it's amazing that it's taken this long for all of them to come out with something similar to Artifactory.
It did take them quite a while. I mean, this has definitely been the year, though, where they finally come out with Artifact. All of them have.
Yeah, everyone, yes.
Which I was happy to see. So I won't complain they were late, but they were late.
It's just surprising that wasn't prioritized early on when people were just doing development.
I mean, I think a lot of times you need to have the development tools to support it to even put stuff into it. And so a lot of them, just kind of got those things recently. I mean, Microsoft bought GitHub, so they all of a sudden had it. And then, Google have built out their own capabilities as well. And, AWS has had the Code family, which no one uses, that at least I know of. But it's I'm glad to see it. I think it's the right move.
And if you're a smaller organization storing your binaries or what have you, just store it in S3. It's what a registry really gives you is the ability to do things like controlling access to specific ones and organization, those types of things, versioning, automatic promotion. Those are all the extra features that you get out of a registry. It's more than just storage. And so if you're under a certain size, I'll just dump it in S3. No big deal.
Well, next up is a partnership between Shopify and Google Cloud, which I didn't know until I read the article. And my first thought this is the best named product I've ever seen from Google Cloud. And then I found out that the name came from Shopify. So, I'll take it.
Yeah.
This is the new voucher service, which is a service to help secure your container supply chain. So, after the container registry expansion, Google has additional gifts for the container supply chain, which is the open source addition to the secure software supply chain toolbox with Voucher. Developed by the software supply chain security team at Shopify to work with Google Cloud Tools, Voucher evaluates container images created by your CI/CD pipelines and signs those images or gives you a voucher if they meet certain predefined security criteria to run on your infrastructure. Well done, sir. Well done. Or ma'am.
That's awesome.
Whoa, it's like they're vouching for you.
I know. You're secure. Yeah, I have a voucher. I proved it. See, here you go. I get it.
I'm thinking of it more like a person, right? The voucher who vouches for you. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a voucher.
I don't know if it's a verb. Like you can vouch for someone, but I don't know that it's a type of person.
Like a cobbler. Like I did want to be a cobbler, but then, Zappos came out, so now I want to be a voucher.
I'm kind of curious about how it works actually, because any other vouchers you can photocopy or. What kind of fake?
Well, I mean, their voucher is technically a signed key, so that's a little bit harder to forge.
I mean, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of these types of services, especially as workloads get more distributed and people stop sort of developing in these like high walled gardens. it's been a bane of, security orgs existence. Like you can just pull any image from a public Docker registry and just run it in production or build on top of it. Like, how do you know which one it is? How do you know this is the same one that you pulled yesterday? So digital signing is just a way to sort of vouch for all those things.
Does it compete with their existing binary authorization
It plugs into their binary authorization system, so you can use it to sign your packages and give that signing information to the binary tool. So that's a nice way to do it. They've also announced several other new capabilities in the security space. The first one being the Cloud Armor Adaptive Protection capability, which is a new technology that leverages years of experience using machine learning to solve security challenges, plus deep experience protecting our own user properties against layer 7 DDoS attacks. A system can detect high volume application layer DDoS attacks against your web apps and service and dramatically accelerate the time to mitigate. And not only will it just surface the attacks, they'll tell you why it surfaced it and why it thinks it's malicious, which is nice because sometimes I wonder about these tools and I'm like, why do you think that's a bad thing? And with context, it's very easy to figure those things out, which is great.
Your customers are ordering too many of your products. We're turning them off.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that. I really appreciate it. The next one up is the Firewall Insights, which will help you optimize your firewall configuration with a number of detection capabilities, including shadowed rule detection to identify firewall rules that have been accidentally shadowed by conflicting rules with higher priorities, which may possibly be because of the next feature, which they announced was the Google Cloud Hierarchical Firewall Policies, which allows you to provide new flexible levels of control so that you can benefit from centralized control of the organization and folder level while safely delegating more granular control within a project. So when security says you can't do this at the global level, you might want to know that your rule that said you could do this is now being shadowed by that rule by security, which makes sense. So glad to give you a whole product for that, though. Firewall Insights will now tell you that your security team boned you on that.
Probably because they introduced the hierarchical firewall policies and then everyone started calling support. It's not working. I opened it up and it's not working.
I think it's funny when you hear about how many years of experience that have gone into developing these things. Machine learning's got years of experience, when you could potentially have thousands of years of experience in machine learning in the space of 6 months.
Yeah, seriously.
It's thousands of years of experience, but half of that experience is, or actually way more than half, like all of that experience is just trying things at random.
The last item in the security announcement is there are some new controls for Google Cloud Packet Mirroring to allow you to add more filters so you get less data, which is something you should enable. And then just because reInvent is coming up very, very quickly, Google Cloud Next gave a recap blog post about their top 10 most popular sessions from Google Cloud Next 20 on air, which was their 9 weeks of conference that we talked about mercilessly here on the show. And there's some interesting takeaways from this that I thought I'd just kind of share with you guys. So first of all, the number one session of all of Google Cloud Next was no code and using no code solutions. So even though we are not the audience for no code, there is definitely a group of people who is very interested.
No, I completely disagree. This, like when you see surveys, 9 out of 10 dentists recommend toothpaste. Well, what was it? What was the actual question you asked? Was it, do you recommend this toothpaste or not brushing your teeth? The lack of context in the question and the answer is highly evident, because I was like morbidly curious about no code, but I wasn't going there because I was interested in using it. I was interested to see what it was they'd have to offer. So I think if you looked at customer feedback on these sessions or customer feedback on the products that they've built, it wouldn't have parity with this order.
Satisfaction of the session is a different topic. The next several, on the list here are all around migrating to Google Workspaces, G Suite things, just, things that are technically part of Google's cloud, but are not really things that I consider to be Google Cloud platform. It's really just Google apps. And so that's fine. The first GCP story came up, which was Do It Live, Fitbit's zero downtime migration to GCP, which was the fourth most popular topic, which I actually might go check out because I hadn't seen that one and I'm sort of intrigued. The next up was, of course, several BigQuery items and data warehousing, machine learning stuff. And then the very last one was mastering security and compliance in the Google Cloud, which I think is probably on the top 10 list of every conference around the cloud, because security people are still trying to desperately figure out how to do security in the cloud in a big way.
And everyone who's not security is trying to figure out what security is freaking talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I wish that Amazon would actually give a very similar article for their conference. I'd love to see kind of what's the most popular ones, especially since it's no longer limited by how many butts are in seats. You can now actually measure this effectively and say, oh, well, this talk actually got this many views versus that one, which got significantly less. Versus they both were maxed out because they only had 100 seats each, which was a bit more difficult in the on-premise conference model.
The Fitbit zero downtime migrations kind of interesting to me. I'm wondering what it was that they were what the difficulties were, why it's a challenge, and why it was interesting to make a presentation of it. Because if you think about the entire wearable device ecosystem, it's designed to work when it's disconnected. It's designed to cache information and then ship it off later. So
it's going to be a database story of some sort, because it's always a database. And
so
DNS.
when Garmin had that major outage, it made news. Like I get that it's made to work when it's not connected, but people like to see their metrics. They like to track that, and they like to see see the results of that wearable device. So it made news. I mean, it made news when Garmin went offline. So I imagine that.
Are they back yet?
Yeah.
I never heard of stories that say they were back yet. So
fair point.
Yeah.
Me.
I don't know. I bet it has a lot to do with getting your development team involved in the migration, because on super high, large scale migrations like that, if you get some collaboration with your development team to add features like dual write or metadata layers, you can make migration 0 times so easy. But usually the mandate is, we're not going to distract them. We're just going to make it happen at the infrastructure layer on the back end, and then it just becomes super challenging.
No, I don't know how many migrations I've been a part of where if they could introduce the idea of, multi-cluster or sharding or pods or, something along those lines, and where you can move customers from one to the other as part of the migration. But, it is always copy the data, walk it over to the other side, plug it back in.
Yeah, we had a customer who had petabytes back when that was a lot of data in the data center. And it's like, how are we ever going to move this stuff in a timely fashion? And, just development team was totally on board. And it was, hey, let's just write a metadata layer that says either the data is on the file system in the data center or it's in S3. And let's track where it is. And then when the customer asks for it, we're going to go ahead and pull it and show it to them. And then when we put it back, we're putting it back in S3. And then at night, we're just going to move stuff that's not being touched. And it was a 0 downtime migration with no problem. And that was back in like 2015. Or you can get stubborn people who just want to build new features, and then it's impossible.
Well, Azure is continuing down the premium world. So they are announcing the preview of Azure Files SMB multi-channel on premium tier. SMB 3.0 introduced the SMB multi-channel technology in Windows Server 2012 and Windows 8. And the benefits of SMB multi-channel include higher throughput, increased IOPS, network fault tolerance, automatic configuration, and cost optimization. And this is available to you for free with your Azure File Premium service for no additional cost. So if you're trying to do massive amounts of file copies on the SMB protocol, I will tell you that it's a terrible, terrible experience, which is why no one does it until this came out many years ago. But no one knows actually how to enable it. So no one actually uses this feature in most networks. But when you do enable it, it is pretty great. And something we used to do as a trick back in the day was we download these third-party download tools like FileGit and others, and you would stream multi-throughput sessions to get downloads much, much faster of your favorite potentially MP3 file that you downloaded illegally off the back of a truck back when I was a teenager many, many years ago.
I was thinking the turbo button that went from 25 to 50 megahertz was impressive.
Yeah. Good to see that they're actually adding features to the premium versus making this the Azure Files SMB multi-channel for Azure Ultra Premium tier, which you pay more money for. And then the next one is one that actually makes me mad. This is the Azure Firewall Premium offering is now available in public preview. So, with the premium version of the firewall, you get things that are important, sort of like TLS inspection or intrusion detection and prevention system, web categorization, and URL filtering. Azure Firewall Premium does utilize their firewall policies, a global resource that can be used to centrally manage your firewalls using the Azure Firewall Managers. And no pricing is available because this is a preview, but the current non-premium firewall is $1.25 per deployment hour and $0.015 per gigabyte processed. So when this gets launched, I'm sort of curious how much more they're going to charge me for this. But I feel like TLS inspection and URL filtering, that should just be table stakes on a firewall. Like that annoys me. The web categorization, maybe that not everyone needs that, so maybe that's an extra charge. But then intrusion detection prevention, I should get that for free in most firewalls today. I mean, it's a pretty common feature. It's a checkbox for most firewall evaluations you do these days. So the fact they're charging extra for these 4 things makes me just super cranky.
Even consumer grade routers are starting to, have some version of those. And so, yeah, I do believe that this is coming a little bit more standard. But, all the cloud providers are trying to milk the enterprise. So,
yes, from a pricing standpoint, I'm holding my pinky up to the corner of my mouth and thinking about the price.
It'll cost you $1 million. All right, that is it for the main show. Let's go to the lightning round, Peter.
.NET 5 is now available in Azure App Service.
It is the new world of .NET that's about to ruin every .NET developer's life for many years as they kill. They're collapsing WCF, they're collapsing a ton of stuff in .NET. The UI UX components are all getting stripped out. So there's just a ton of work for developers on .NET World. I take them to .NET 5.
Is this making it more Linux friendly?
It does work on Linux. Yes, you can run it on Linux, which is nice.
If you want to know all the features it has, you can look it up in the .matrix.
Yeah.
AWS Step Functions now supports Amazon EKS service integration.
Because who doesn't love JSON? Who doesn't want to add step functions format, whatever that is?
Yeah, this makes sense because you in step functions you have the pull forever function. So now you can have that just pull your Amazon EKS service forever.
Amazon Kendra adds user tokens for secure search.
I think Kendra only has token users right now anyway.
Okay, moving on. Amazon Athena announces the availability of Engine version 2.
I mean, if you consider what Amazon Athena has now, an engine, I guess you could call the new one version 2. But an engine's a stretch.
Yeah. What exactly do they constitute as version 1?
It's a horse going around inside one of those wheels.
Yeah.
AWS Lambda now makes it easier to send logs to custom destinations.
Which is translated to just means a custom log group. Because they only go to CloudWatch.
But now I can fire them off into space. It says custom destination. Should be able to choose whatever I want.
As long as the destination is CloudWatch, you can do whatever you want.
What are the space services they're offering now? You should be able to do that. AWS Systems Manager Explorer now provides a multi-account, multi-region summary of AWS config compliance.
So the product team for config says, no one's looking at our compliance dashboards. What can we do? We'll just centralize them. And no one will look at the config compliance dashboards.
Especially consider they're buried under Systems Manager Explorer.
There are new Amazon S3 console that improves upload speed, simplifies common tasks, and makes it even easier to manage storage.
So you know that old adage, how do you know a salesperson's lying? Their lips are moving. You know how a press release is lying? They say console improvement.
Yeah, you just picturing the Route 53 improvements?
So I actually have not seen this new console because someone complained to me about it that was terrible in the chat room on Slack. And I went to go look at it so I could then complain that Justin does a thing today. But both of the accounts that I use for testing for the CloudPod do not have the new console yet. And I didn't look at the work accounts.
So here's the problem with Amazon's console, right? So there's, the new EC2 console, for instance, I hate it. And it's very similar to the new Amazon S3 console, which I love. And the only difference between those is that it's replacing the old Amazon S3 console.
Right.
Well, and which version of the S3 console are you referring to? Because they've had so many half-baked starting. Remember the green one that was sort of green dialog boxes and that went away? And now I hope to eventually see it. I just... I did see the new interface for that dashboard earlier, so maybe I should have looked further.
It definitely looks better, but some of the functionality they have as far as refreshing and persistent state and cookies is a little problematic.
So the person who complained said that the process to download a file, which is now multiple clicks and multiple windows, was what drove him off the rocker on it. So I have not tried to do any of those things because I haven't seen it. But he said uploading and downloading files is much more complicated.
Via the UI, I think downloading is easier.
I tried to take a screenshot of the new UI, but I zoomed out to 2% or something. I could just about get all of the different panes in view on a thing to take a picture of it. But the uploads are real painful because you can't just drag files straight onto the thing. You've got to click the upload button, and then you've got to click another button that says, no, I really want to upload. Give me the file picker. I don't know. It's designed for people who don't have to use the console.
Perfect. No wonder.
But Ryan, you're saying that it's all relative. It's relative to where you started. Improvement is relative to where you started.
Because I'm drinking away all the memories before the last two S3 console versions.
I totally forgot those.
Yeah, but the last two have been painful, enough to where I would not use them. I would open a terminal specifically to do S3 actions, just because I do not like that console.
I think we all forget the first one that would time out if you were doing an upload that was too large, to fit in the 30-second timeout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gotten better.
I need to test it actually, because one of my pet peeves has been when you search for a file in the actual console, it would only ever do a search from the first characters of the key. You couldn't search for a word partway down. So I'm going to test it. I'll test it. If they fix that, I'll give them a pass.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, AWS Step Functions now supports Amazon API Gateway Service integration.
This is again another one where I don't have a joke. I'm actually just I'm kind of excited about this one. Like
Your
That's
love of
good.
step functions is
That's good.
disturbing me.
Step Functions is the ultimate serverless, in my opinion. I think it's super cool, but you gotta commit to building stuff, and it's not easy, right?
I can trigger my state machines with an API call. Is what this is. So I don't, like depending on how I manage authentication, the whole thing, like this is going to be pretty powerful.
I feel like it should be the other way around, though. I feel like it's a backwards press release. It should have been the API Gateway now supports Step Functions integration, because it's the integration's on the back end, not the front end. I've understood it much better the other way around.
Well, that's a good question. Is this actually Amazon Step Functions now can send APIs to the gateway, or is it the API Gateway can actually send functions to the step? Which way is it?
I didn't read it. You're right. Oh no.
Let's see here. Let's see. AWS Step Functions is now integrated with the Amazon API Gateway REST and HTTP APIs, making it faster and easier to build application workflows, including microservices created by API Gateway. You can use the API Gateway integration to create a workflow that orchestrates HTTP and REST APIs, acting as the front door for the business logic running on an Amazon Lambda, a serverless compute service, or an Amazon Elastic Container Service, fully managed container, blah, blah, blah. You think you're right. So I think you win on this one.
Amazon Elasticsearch Service adds support for hot reload of dictionary files.
Because everyone loves to talk about the dictionary and how out of whack it is. So now you can hot reload it.
I totally went a different way on that one. Like that's hot.
Amazon MSK customers can now use cruise control to more easily scale and balance resource utilization within clusters.
I love paying for a managed service that then I have to use a third-party open source tool to actually scale and balance it. So yeah, thank you for that.
And it's like real cruise control. If you actually take your hands off the wheel, you're going to crash and burn.
Yeah.
That's like Tom Cruise control.
Oh, nice. Amazon Textract adds handwriting recognition and support for new languages.
Only because they haven't seen my handwriting.
I was going to say the same thing.
I think it's totally a medical feature, because if you've never seen a doctor's handwriting, they're notoriously impossible.
A career in computers has done nothing for whatever handwriting I had beforehand. But every time now that I have to actually write something by hand, I feel alien.
You're left-handed, though.
I am left-handed, so
I'm
it doesn't
left-handed.
even. Yeah. Are you? Nice.
Yeah. And I think it's just that the smarter you get, the more you realize that, especially when you're signing things, nobody reads it. So anybody who wastes their time writing it all neat so everyone can read it doesn't matter. Squiggle. Done. Next.
I sign credit card statements, Mickey Mouse.
Nice.
Nice.
I was talking to a lady yesterday who said that she used to do work for a stripper, and the stripper used to always sign the signature as a pair of boobs.
It could be any symbol. It could be any symbol. That's where the X came from. Yeah. Awesome. Good job, guys. That was fun. But token users takes it.
It wasn't worthy of winning.
I need you to mention who the winner was.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was Jonathan who mentioned token users.
I'll tell you why, because I got the show notes back for the last episode and I was proofreading them and it said Justin won the lightning round. And I was like, actually, I didn't win the lightning round last week. I'm pretty sure Jonathan won it. And so then I had to go listen to the whole lightning round. And then I just go to the end of it and I'm like, oh, Peter says, this phrase won it. I'm like, well, crap, which of these was, where is that? So then I had to listen to the whole lightning round as part of my review just to get to who won the lightning round to make sure that the pod, and I should have trusted Podreacher, but I was just like, I just want to confirm. So yeah, so if you could appreciate if you would at the end, say Justin or Jonathan or whoever won, that'd be super helpful.
Then he has to pay attention.
Oh, come on. I said that 3 times for you, Jonathan.
I know.
Christ's sake.
4th time lucky.
I set you up. After promising Ryan I was going to give it to him as a spiff.
Nice. Did you update your number, Jonathan, or do I need to do that for you?
He already did. It was 7-6, now it's 8-6.
Someone did it.
Oh, Justin.
This is almost like a math formula that we're going to find out later is very significant. Like, we should have a numerologist evaluate the final numbers to see if they're meaningful at the end of the year.
I like it. Yeah, we'll have a numerologist guest.
Someone has put in things coming up in the show notes other than reInvent, which we already talked about ad nauseum. So the first one is mine. Actually, I put it there because you told me to, because you thought it was too fluffy for the main show. But Google Cloud has apparently decided that they want to pee in Amazon's Wheaties and have a public sector summit on December 8th, which will be keynoted by Thomas Kurian and Mike Daniels, VP of Global Public Sector. And they will share important updates and lessons learned from years of unprecedented challenges and achievements and look ahead to the future of service delivery experiences for the government in the digital world. And there will be apparently 2 days of interactive content if you're in the public sector after the keynote. So that is available to you. They apparently decided 9 weeks of public sector was probably too much, which I appreciate. But that is available to you from Thomas Kurian. And then this other one, I don't know, I actually put that in the show notes. So whoever that is, you better speak up now.
Yeah, that was me. So Matt Gowie is one of the AWS community builders, and he has a presentation on December 2nd about the AWS CLI by the AWS Beta Group.
Cool.
And so we'll paste the link to that in show notes too.
So he also is counter-programming his own conference. That's pretty cool. That's really awesome. Well, we definitely look forward to seeing that on the 2nd, or maybe a recording of it, because I think I'll be watching the keynote. But yeah, it's good. All right, well, that's it for another fantastic week in cloud. See you after Thanksgiving for our recap show, live on Twitch.
Woohoo.
Oh my God, that's going to be great. Can't wait.
No, it's going to be awful. I'm going to spend most of it apologizing.
I mean, I told you the dinosaur avatar is the way to go.
Now, if you don't watch the live show, you will not get all of our flubs and mistakes and all of that stuff. So, I mean, like, you want to tune in. You're going to want to tune in because we make a lot of mistakes that Jonathan edits out so nicely for us, our podcast editors, which is really great. So, but yeah, you got to learn all the stuff. His swear words will be there. I mean, all the things. So definitely tune in.
I would have to watch my. Oh man.
No, we'd be okay on Twitch. Actually,
it's okay for Twitch.
Yeah.
Like we don't. Twitch is fine. It's when we go to editing that we need to make sure we remove the swear words for Apple because
Got it.
explicit content
Apple.
tags. Psh. Yeah, those people who own most of the podcast world. So we had to be good to them. All right, guys.
We should get an exclusive deal with Spotify instead.
I mean, if they're going to pay me, big money, like I'll take it.
If I can get some Gimlet money.
Yeah. I will take it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. See you next week. Oh, actually, not next week. I'll see you after Thanksgiving.
No, 2 weeks.
After the thing. A couple weeks.
Have
later,
a
guys.
good holiday.
You too.
See you later.
Later.
Bye, everybody.
And that is the Week in Cloud. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Foghorn Consulting. Subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and tweet us your feedback at #TheCloudPod. Or join our Slack channel. Go to our website, thecloudpod.net for sign-up instructions.